All right. Good morning. Good morning, guys. How are you doing? Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction about myself and just talk to you about what we're going to be presenting today. This is a workshop, all things wedding planning, and this is good for individuals who are looking to get started in the wedding planning business, or if you've been planning social events, corporate events, and you're trying to cross over into the wedding industry. So I'm primarily going to be talking about weddings, right? So all things weddings is what I'm going to be talking about. Some of the content in here, you can definitely relate it to social events as well, but primarily just for the sake of this course, it would be mostly about weddings. So a little bit about myself. My name is Jewel Adeyemi, and I, of course, a wedding and event planner. So I actually do all the events. It's just that weddings are my niche. And I got started, I've been doing this now for about 6 years. And starting as a wedding planner, the story was just, it's something that I would definitely share with you, because I think a lot of people, when they start off, mostly they start off as a hobby. I think a lot of my friends that I've spoken to, it's either, they just enjoyed planning for people and just really loved planning for people. And it was a hobby that turned into a money making, or if you're doing something that you love, right, why not make some money doing it, right? And so my story is somewhat similar. But yeah, so I'm the founder and lead planner of a planning firm, Touch of Jewel Events and Designs, out here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I do have a team of about 6 lead planners, event coordinators, staffing assistants that do work with me as well. We do local events. We also have the privilege to travel. We have traveled within the states and outside of the states. So it's something that we've been doing, for the past 6 years now. And when I got into, let me see here. So about 2010, I got engaged, and I was in my final year of college. So it was the last year of college, kind of finishing up finals, trying to graduate. I got proposed to, and of course, as every girl, the next step, right? As soon as you get that ring, it's like you want to start planning. But I knew that it was going to be very difficult. Me being in my final year of college, I automatically knew I had to get a planner. And I actually started looking for planners out here. It was a little bit tricky because I was very specific about the type of planner I was looking for. And the reason why was because I'm Nigerian. My husband is also British Nigerian. So we were going to have a 3-day cultural wedding that consists of an introduction, a traditional engagement, and the wedding itself. And over the course of 3 days, we're talking about 1,000 guests, right? So not every planner would be comfortable, planning such a large event or, a cultural event. So I was very specific about the type of planner I was looking for. You have to be somebody who had planned, an event for my culture or really understood my culture. I was really looking for someone who was from my culture. And this was back in 2010. I think there was one company then that I did find that I felt would be a good fit. But just like every other bride today, when they call you asking for your planning services and you give them the fee, they automatically think that's a lot. And wait, my fiance and I at the time were going to pay for our wedding. So while I felt like they would probably have done a very great job, it was just something that we couldn't afford. So we decided, you know what, I'm in school, let me finish up. That's going to give us, 2 years to plan the wedding. And that was just really how it got started. So within 2 years, we got married in 2012. And so from 2010 to 2012, myself and my maid of honor, we planned. And that time, I felt like I was literally in college doing the research, writing a research paper, because it was, tons of researching online, trying to find a venue, calling around, driving around, and, all this while still trying to finish school as well. But one thing that I found was I enjoyed doing it. Like, I just enjoyed it, I enjoyed being able to, call up different vendors, get inquiries from them, negotiate with them. I learned a lot during the planning process as well, because I had an opportunity to ask questions, based on what they were charging. So it was a process that I really, really enjoyed. And when it came down to like the decor and design part, that was like heaven. I was like, wait, like this stuff exists actually. And so it was just fun. It was fun. And I got married. I hired a coordinator for the day. Listened to a lot of people saying, make sure you get a coordinator for the day, even if you can't afford a planner. That's where I tell a lot of, couples who maybe reach out to me but cannot afford our services. I just let them know, whatever you do, just make sure you do have someone professional on that day. Last thing you want to do is running around, like a chicken head on the wedding day, trying to make sure things are set in place. So I had a coordinator. The wedding didn't go like 100% how I would have wanted it to go, but I felt like, I planned like a 1,000 guest wedding, and I think I did pretty good. And right after that, my maid of honor got engaged, and so roles were reversed, and I was planning for her. And then just within the period of 2 years after I got married, I had tons of friends who got engaged, and they would reach out to me and say, hey, who planned your wedding? Who planned your wedding? It was so beautiful. And I told them, well, I planned my wedding. It was just, girl, okay, now you got to help us plan, right? How many of you are in that position? Well, if you're planners, I'm sure you get a lot of people who just, they hear that you're a planner. All of a sudden you turn into the family planner, the church planner. But are you getting paid for it, right? That's the question you got to ask yourself. And so I enjoyed it. And I got a job. I graduated, I got a good job. So I was working, I was making money in corporate. So I wasn't really thinking of charging. I was just like, I love doing this. I enjoy doing this. So let me plan for my friends. I must have maybe planned for about 7 or 8 of my friends right after I got married. And I just loved it. I just enjoyed planning. There were times where I was a planner and I was a bridesmaid, and I was a maid of honor, and it was fun. And so, after a while, I would be out all day, long hours. And then my husband, one day he was like, you enjoy doing this stuff. Like, I would be at home working on my laptop and ignoring him and stuff. It was like, you put so much effort into this stuff right here. You're not even getting paid for it. Can you imagine how much more effort you would put into it if you were getting paid for it, right? And so it was like a light bulb moment. We'd both, my husband and I, would always talked about owning a business. I think it's everyone's goal to become an entrepreneur someday, right? You don't want to keep clucking in and clucking out for an employer. Eventually, you want to become an employer of labor, right? And so, we've been kind of thinking about what business would I start? What business would you start? And he said, you know what? You enjoy doing this. Why don't you look into how you can make it profitable? And so there goes my research again, like looking into seeing how much do wedding planners really charge, what do they make? Is it a living that's sustainable? Is it something that eventually I can quit my corporate job and, do this full time and, be able to feed my family, right? And so, I got my planning certification, and, I created a website. I, invested, created a website, got my logo done, got my business cards, and I just thought I was legit. I had my first business cards were ordered from Vistaprint. No shade on Vistaprint, but look, Vistaprint is it for every beginner in the business industry. Look, and there's the things that I'm going to share today, and I'm going to talk about today, because a lot of mistakes that business owners make is when they start off, they invest so much, but they're not even sure of if what they're investing in is the right thing to invest in, right? So, a baby just doesn't start walking a day, right? It takes stages, right? First they crawl, then they stand, then they walk, then they can run. So, and that's how the process is in business. So, I got my little business cards, and, I created my Facebook was popping back then. It was no Instagram really back then. So I created my Facebook page, and, and I just, I reached out to all my friends who had planned their wedding and told them to send me pictures. And so it just worked out perfectly, because now I had portfolio, that I could post on my website and my social media, and I put that out there, and before I knew it, calls began to come in, and I was like, the very first call I got, I was like, oh my God, like, wait, somebody really wants to pay for a wedding planner? Like, where they do that at? I mean, it was that, I remember that very first call, it was a lot of emotions. It was scary. It was like, oh my God, like, I'm about to do this. At the time, I hadn't even thought about what I was gonna, like, I didn't put together like a business plan or anything, it was just, I was like, oh, and I think the reason why was because I was working corporate. So I was making good money, and I just felt like, oh, this is a side hustle that I'm just gonna bring, this is my shopping money basically, so I really didn't put a lot of thought into how do I really start a business, right? And so the first thing that came out of my mouth was, the bride was like, how much do you charge, to plan my wedding? I didn't even think. I just opened my mouth and said $500, and, she booked me, hired me on the spot. And that was, the very first paid wedding I did. And from that point onward, it's just, I mean, the business has just grown in such a rapid manner, So I share that, to just kind of tell you guys my backstory on how I got started in today. And this is actually going on our 6th year in the industry. And, a lot of amazing things have happened. I think running your own business it's not always going to be a rosy journey. There'll be challenges along the way. There'll be hurdles. It's actually harder being a business owner than it was when I was working for somebody, believe it or not, and, we'll talk about all of those things today, but I really hope that at the end of this session, at the end of this workshop, you would be equipped with, tools. If you're just starting out as a planner, hopefully you'll be equipped with tools that would really help you go out there and, start grinding, and you would have a good sense of direction of how to start your business, right? And if you're already planning, some things I may share today might inspire you, or you might feel like, a lot of times as business owners, you kind of come to a roadblock. It's like you just get stuck. And hopefully after this workshop, maybe, some of the information that I share would kind of be a light bulb, to you, and kind of help you redirect your business, or, better your structure and how you do things.